One. Hello, hello. Welcome to Sunday Shift.
Good morning. Well,
Yes,
it is
morning.
morning for us because I have a busy day today, so I had to ask for Tracy to allow us to record early. So happy Sunday shift,
Early edition.
early edition, even though
Make
you
sure
guys
that
might
you,
not hear it until later.
right. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend. Y'all have really showed out for us. I mean, this week, I've just, for whatever reason, my emotions have been like, so y'all have me really emotional. Thank you to the people who are like listeners who like came because we asked and subscribed to the YouTube. There were several people. We like appreciate you so much. That was so sweet. Thank you for folks
Mhm.
leaving us messages. Thank you for people buying us coffees. Kathy, Lauren, Pamela, Liz. If you want to buy us coffee, you can leave that in the. We'll leave that link in the comment. We're going to use any proceeds to go down to, you called it Super Soap Weekend, but I think it's the Fan Club Weekend.
I
I
don't
do
know what
remember
it is.
Super Soap. I do remember Super Soap. That was a vibe. I wish I could have afforded to go during that time. But yeah,
Right.
so we're like just trying to figure out what events that we're gonna go to. I know there's like a Trina and Kai event with our friend JGL, who will be there as a special guest. So definitely want to go meet her. Obviously, we want to go see Dominic Zambronia, like in his kind of nighttime drink event. So we're gonna figure out where we're gonna go. So anything that you leave in the next few weeks will just be proceeds to help us do that. But yeah, like y'all have been so sweet. Like people who have left messages to say, even if I don't always agree with you, I love hearing from y'all. Like that really warms my heart because I love talking about soaps with people, even if I agree with them or not. Um, Me and Tanya don't agree on everything. So agreeing is not like the be all and end all. It's just people who love the genre, who love watching TV, who love watching this world with us, and we thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank
Yeah, thank you, thank you, thank you. I don't
you.
ever, I never even know like how many people listen to us, and it's a surprise to me when I go to YouTube and see like how many people viewed the YouTube videos. And it was a shock when we got noticed by some entity that we were like one of the top something podcasts. And I love like telling people. They're like, oh, what did you do this Sunday? I was like, oh, I was on my podcast for General Hospital. They're like, what? And so people are always surprised because, I do like so many different things, and they're
Mm-hmm.
always shocked. And I love telling
Mm-hmm.
people like I'm on a
Yes.
podcast that I've been on for like almost how many years it's been? It's like 3, 4 years.
3, 4 years, something like
Yeah.
that.
And I was
Yeah.
like, they're like, what? You've been doing that every week? I was like, almost, yeah, something
Almost.
like right. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, thank you guys for listening and, commenting and all that stuff. We're watchers just like you, and we just, sharing what our thoughts are, and I
Mm-hmm.
love hearing other people's thoughts on what we've watched. I'm always a big person who loves watching stories and seeing audience reaction. I've been like that since I was in college and I worked at a movie theater, and I would just go into the same movie over and over again just to hear people's reaction. So
I worked
so
at a
thank
movie
you.
theater in high school. I didn't know that about you.
Yay! So yeah,
Yeah.
we have that in common. So thank you all for listening and joining with us and experiencing
Yes.
General Hospital together.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we have so much to talk about, but want to ask you like quickly, how was your week? How did things go for you? Any big thing to
Honest.
share?
Oh, I did a lot of festivals this week
Ooh.
talking to people about BART. So I work
Bart
for
is our
Bay,
regional.
yeah, Bay Area Rapid Transit System. And so just talking to people about public transit.
Mhm.
And just so, on a side note, public transit has been, struggling because since we've come out of the pandemic, people are working from home more often. And so it's a struggle. And then, I don't even want to get into, federal stuff, but as everyone's looking at how stuff is being cut, everyday things that we rely on is being, um, impacted. So
Mhm.
just, going out there and encouraging people to use transit is part of the work that I do. So that's what
Yeah.
I did at least 3 times this week. I went to a Greenfoot Festival and I went to the Cherry Festival.
Ooh, I love the
And
Cherry
just,
Festival though.
yes, I got me some cherries and nectarines, but
Mm,
some great. So yeah, I was festivaling out, peopling out, and I'm gonna people again today. So I'm peopling.
yeah, yeah. I will finally be back in Oakland at the end of June. So I'm
Okay.
looking forward to like just Bay Airing it out, to be honest with you.
Yes.
Um,
How
I
was
went
your
to
week?
I went to see Kendrick and SZA in St. Louis. Um, it was a treat. I'm not gonna talk too long about it because I could talk for the rest of the podcast about it. But Kendrick, the goat. I also understand SZA a little bit more. I was always kind of I like SZA. I've always liked SZA. Loved her first album. Was always kind of confused about her fan base. Not in a bad way, but I was always like, huh, like okay, she's really popular. SZA is like a sad girl rock star. There's this song called Nobody Gets Me that I love. I love Nobody Gets Me.
Uh,
It's on her new album. There was a girl sitting behind me like scream singing. I was like,
Aw.
okay, girl, nobody gets you. I get it. I get it. You do your thing, girl. Uh, but yeah, it was so much fun. Brett, who's friend of the show, who lives in Chicago, went to go see him on Friday, and so we've just been comparing notes. If they doubled back and did another U.S. tour, I would find a way to go again. Like
Nice.
it was that good. It was that, and I'm not a concert person. I'm a lounge person. I like a
Yeah.
band, a band where I could have a seat.
Hmm.
But yeah, I would go again. It was so good. The goat. That's it. Let's talk about GH. Let's get into it.
Awesome.
Um, who were your performer of the week?
I mean, for me, Amanda Sutton and Gio Mazza, we're continuing to bring it this week in their
Always.
conversations, when in their, just kind of retreading what's happening and talking to people who are involved consistently. I hope that they have plenty of Emmy reels to submit. I know they do. I personally think they have plenty of Emmy reels to submit. I just hope that they do so. I don't know how often Amanda Sutton has, submitted in the past. I hope she does so this year, particularly. And I hope she wins it all. I hope it's like a landslide to me.
Yeah.
And then Gio, best new. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with the young new actor category, but he's on my top to be submitted this year as well. And then I just want to give another warm welcome shout out to Rory Gibson.
Yes.
Man, he has struck a lot of people. Like, people are fanning over him like no tomorrow, like, oh, the handsome and all this other stuff. And he's just excited a lot of, Michael fans. And um, so just, just welcome to GH. Welcome to the new energy you're bringing to the show.
Hmm.
And, I'm looking forward to seeing more storylines with him. I have to say that Chad Duell was, he was what he was, but I think he's it's just a different energy that's come with Rory. And so, yeah, welcome and looking forward to, seeing more, story
Yeah.
with him.
I mean, I think that what you struck is that it's also the writing. Because when Chad
Yes.
was giving really good writing, he always delivered
He's
for me.
always
Like,
delivered. Yeah.
um, and I think that what we're seeing in general is just
Hmm.
the difference between people having good writing, excuse me, versus like people
Yeah.
when you don't, and like how it excites fans, how it excites us, how we get
Hmm.
motivated to like even want to watch. There was like a point, like a lull of like, and I'm mad at the show right now. But we'll get into that at hot takes, but there's like a lull of people who are like, oh, I don't know about this show. And if you watch this week, even on Hulu with the rewatches, GH is in
Hmm.
like number one and two of like people rewatching. That's what
Yeah,
happens
I
when you
think
have a
it,
good
yeah.
story.
I
That's
saw
what
it on social
happens.
media. It was trending. GH was trending
Hmm.
on Hulu. And I was like, oh, what? That's
Yeah,
great.
yeah. So like with Rory, he's walked into good story. This is how you do a
Hmm.
recast. This is how you do a character who is as important to the show as Michael. You give him
Hmm.
story that he carries himself. Because the
Hmm.
problem that I've always found with Michael is that his story has always been in service of Sonny and Carly.
Right.
And in this story, we have them being in service of him.
Mhm.
And so Rory is phenomenal. He has like walked in and like had chemistry with every single person across the board that he's worked with. And they've also like put him in a good position because he's been in a good story.
Right.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about this later because they didn't do this for a certain someone, and I'm
Ooh,
pissed. So,
period.
so
Let's
right.
actually get into the custody stuff first. Let's talk about that first. So we have
Mhm.
the hearing. So much of it is focused on Drew. But before the hearing, I found to be really fascinating that Christina brought up Shiloh. So she said something like, she is all obsessed with Drew, and it's just like she was with Shiloh. One, thought it was interesting to bring up Shiloh. Two, I was like, Christina, you didn't know Willow when she was obsessed with Shiloh. You know Willow after she left, so that was just a continuity thing. But how do you feel about that mention of Shiloh?
Well, first of all, I think we as an audience have been mentioning Shiloh for like
Mm-hmm.
weeks. The way that Drew is obsessed with Willow, we're like, oh, it's feeling like giving Shiloh and all this other stuff. So that's interesting that it's brought up in that way. We don't know if the writers are responding to our conversation or if this is something that they are coming up with on their own. And then I also want to point out that Christina, it's odd that she's talking about how Willow was with Shiloh, and she really should have been saying it reminds me of how Shiloh was with
I was
me, or
right.
I was with
Yeah,
Shiloh. And so, or anybody, instead of just pointing at to Willow. But yeah, so that was pretty, maybe on the nose, maybe not. I don't know. We'll see if the
yeah,
audience is right about Drew and how his behavior changed and what that means and what it looks like. So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So we get to court. They don't have Sunny there.
Uh-huh.
And then Diane is like, Jason, you gotta bounce. um, and they kind of lay out this case. They have people come talk about the things that Willow has done. And that's what was striking to me, that we actually have watched in succession all of these things. When you have a fandom collectively who is like, take
Right.
that girl's kids, that's wild for
Yeah.
everybody to be like, get her out of here. That's not something that normally happens. You really do have more like split in the fandom, and I haven't. I
Hmm.
mean, and there might be people who feel away, but for the most part, that split is not there. There are people who split about like, okay, if Willow gets away from Drew, maybe, but the fact that Michael even got Sasha pregnant and people didn't care about it really speaks to how much they were pushing with Willow. And so when you had people on the stand, one after the other, explaining it was really jarring to be like, oh, yeah, you did do all of this. And then to have
Hmm.
Willow and Drew kind of be sitting there looking all funny, you did it.
Right.
Carly talked about them taking Wiley out of town and
Hmm.
even saying, Wiley called me from his
Right.
suite. Was that new information?
I think it was, but then I'm trying to remember how Michael found out that Willow took the kids out of town, and it may have been Carly that told him. But I don't
Mm,
remember Wiley calling Carly. That must have been an off-scene type thing that happened. That's
mm.
new information to me.
I thought it was a
But it
picture that was like how he found out.
or something. But in
Yeah,
any
yeah.
case, maybe, yeah. But it what it does is the writers is trying to display a pattern of
Mm-hmm.
Wiley giving Michael a heads up about what's happening with his kids.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can see why they did it. But yeah, I think that's a rewrite or a retread or, because I'm like,
Yeah,
we didn't
yeah,
see this, so
yeah.
which would have
I
been
couldn't
even more
remember.
scandalous. Yeah. We would
Yeah,
have remembered it if he had did that. We would have been like,
yeah.
Wiley keeps calling Michael and telling him everything.
Bye, mom.
My mom, you know.
But yeah, so then, but that Wiley called. It was like, Mom is in Uncle Drew's room.
Right.
That's wild.
That is
And
wild.
then
And we noticed that though. We noticed that she would go to his room and leave her kids somewhere else. That's
mhm,
something we did notice
yep.
as an
Um,
audience.
and then Carly also talked about the night that Willow tried to take the kids from the house. And you had
Hmm.
Drew and Willow looking all wild about it. You did this. These are not things that they're making up. You make those
Hmm.
faces when they like flip and switch what you did. You did this.
Right.
Nina told you to abscond with those children because you needed possession of them because your affair was just broadcasted. This happened. Like
Yeah.
this is not shocking that this came out. The other flip of this, you have Christina, who was supposed to. So Christina is the person who had set up all of the conversations between Michael and the kids while he was in Germany, and was going to also testify to Willow like using Michael as a pawn when he was like recovering before he even went to Germany.
Hmm.
Rick sees her name on the witness list and calls Alexis and is like, "You gotta take that out of here."
Yeah.
I am
So
so sick of Rick. I know people hate Alexis. I know people hate Christina. Both they're both hateable.
yeah.
I Rick's behavior. Get it out of here. I'm not. I'm not. Mr. Panic Room himself talking about what other people shouldn't be doing. No.
No, and he clearly did that so he can hold on to his meal ticket. He's like,
Mm-hmm.
if I have to cross-examine her, I'm gonna go for it, and because it's my job, and I don't want to because I want to continue blackmailing you. So
Right.
he took off, but he flips it on Alexis and being like, you don't want Christina on the stand with me because she'll spill the whole beans and you'll all go to jail. I mean, I
Right.
think he's gonna go to jail. Well, I don't know if he goes, you go to jail for blackmail. I don't know. That's but
You can for
still
extortion, and you can lose your
for
license.
extortion.
Both of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So both of those. So he doesn't want to do it. But that makes me weird. It's weird. Like if you know that Christina might spill all the beans, then don't ask her questions that will lead her there. That's just on you as much as it is on, Christina. But I think he's using it as twofold. One, getting rid of a powerful witness, and two, saving himself from,
Yeah,
whatever.
I
But
think it's
anyway.
definitely getting rid of a powerful witness, and that's like
Yeah.
the thing, and we'll get a little bit more into Rick and Alexis in a bit, but that's
Hmm.
the thing that like frustrates me with the blackmail. You're doing too much.
Oh
You're
yeah.
doing too much, and Christina, I was interested in the fact that nobody was concerned with how Christina did this and Alexis being like really pushing this whole like, well, you and Molly, as if Molly is the only one of Christina's siblings that matter. If this testimony could have been the difference between Michael having his kids and not, then that also messes up Christina's relationship with Molly. So this is just
Hmm.
classic Alex, or I'm sorry, with Michael. This is just
Hmm.
classic Alexis only caring about her family, only caring about herself, and not caring about what it does to Christina's relationship with other people.
I'm also thinking that the siblings, or Michael, at least Michael and Molly, are getting either used to Christina's erratic behavior or expecting it and, maybe confronting her later, which is sad. That
Mm-hmm.
they can't essentially count on Christina
Yeah.
to show up for them when they need to.
Mm,
Um, But yeah, we probably won't get that conversation with Michael and Christina until later. But
yeah.
yeah, gonna be weird. He's probably gonna want to ask her all these things. He's like, you said you were doing good, yet what's going on?
Yeah.
So
You really hit that. I hadn't even thought about that. That Michael didn't even panic.
right.
He was just like, I know what to do. Let me call
You
my
know,
other sister
sister,
who
right.
actually is, somebody I can count
More
on.
reliable and will
Yeah.
blow Rick out of the water at the same time. So yeah.
And Jocelyn did just that. So Jocelyn gets up on the stand and really just like annihilates Willow in such a calm way. And so you have Carly texting Jocelyn like, "Stay calm, this and that." And it feels like they're really trying to like lean into this like WSB training of Jocelyn's that's like mellowing her out and like making her calm and like getting her to like think
Yeah.
ahead. And so being able to like her explaining all of what has happened, of Willow obviously using Michael as his pawn, and then flipping this conversation that she had with Willow in the bathroom. She's like, "Well, I don't
Mm.
know, but Willow did say that all she cares about is Drew," which is what Willow said. We
Right.
pointed that out, and then also being like, "Well, I don't know what else we would have been said because Drew came into the bathroom and threatened me." Okay, young Joss.
Yes. That contrast is amazing. And the fact and speaks to what you had told before that Michael is the central to this story and everyone is supporting, and even Carly recognizes that right now that Michael is back, I need to take a step back
Mm-hmm.
and not be, all, 100% me and aggressive, but at the same time still standing strong and standing in support of her son. um
Mm-hmm.
she's contrite when they had that conversation that, you overstepped your bounds in my custody hearing, but I forgive you. She's not all, she is normally all up in their faces, but she hasn't been a lot, but she will, she did at the end. And she overhears what happens with Nina, but we'll talk about that later. But at the
Yeah.
same time, I think Harley and her is recognizing her son can handle this, and though she doesn't need to be in the lead, and she's telling Joss, texting Joss the same thing. Let's let Michael handle this, and so that's so great. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
And so not like Carly.
right. Because
um,
it would have been Carla that was stood up and be like, "You should do this. Don't cross-examine
mm-hmm.
my daughter." All that stuff. And she sat back. So
Mm-hmm. Showing that
yeah,
Carly trusts Joss more than Alexis trusts Christina.
Christina,
Interesting
the
enough.
whole family. I'm
Mm-hmm.
thinking.
Yeah. So then we have the other witnesses. We have Dante. Um, I I always it always reminds me how mad I was at Dante and Lulu anytime we bring up this story about Michael going to
Michael.
Pentonville.
Yeah.
And so that was like really like an interesting point to have Dante on the stand, having to explain all of the like explain the bombing, having him explain like everything with Claudia. If you
Yeah.
remember back, Willow was disgusted that Nina would bring up Claudia during the visitation hearing. And now you're
Hmm.
a lawyer. And I'm not saying it's wrong. Like, I'm tired of
Yeah.
bringing up Claudia, but I imagine that anytime Michael has to go to court, that will happen.
Yeah.
Um,
Anytime.
yeah, they also kind of slightly brought up taking Avery from Sunny, so
Funny.
that was a thing. Yeah, um, they didn't really have Dante speak to like Michael being a good dad, which was weird. I mean, I guess obviously like we're not gonna see everything, and these are like clips, but
Right.
it wasn't like even when Dante was talking, it was like as if Michael was a stranger. He was like, the bomb in Michael's father's house wasn't meant for Michael. That's your daddy house too.
Yeah. Right. They weren't speaking about his relationship to Michael and they were
Yeah,
speaking to him as like a cop,
yeah.
and knowing the situation, which was interesting. And
Hmm.
yeah, Diane could have done a lot more with that, really.
Or Rick could have like knocked it down as like
Yeah.
not, whatever, because Dante's actually his brother. So that was
Right.
whatever. And then the chase of it all. Woo!
Ah, that was a good
when
line. That was a good cross by Diane.
Yeah, so I've never been a Millow fan, to be clear. I've always been hashtag Misha Rising.
Right.
But I was always with like the Chase and Willow thing, like this is more complicated than Willow just being a cheater. Like I just
Right.
never like saw it in that light because I'm like she did not want to be married to Chase. She married him for this other reason. It's not like they were married for love. So it was like
Right.
technically cheating on paper, but it wasn't like cheating in this way, whatever. Um, but when she created like this pattern of like this is what Willow does, I was like, okay, I see it. And so yeah, to your point with the cross, where she was like, he cheated on you, or she cheated on you. Chase was like, well, and then Rick was like, with who? Did Michael know you were married? And then Diane was like, did Willow know she was married? I loved it.
Right.
Oh, so good. And then our star witness, oh Sasha. Oh Sasha. Oh my goodness. So so I get really frustrated when the show has to like spell things out because people start arguing about subtext. So it was
Mhm.
obvious that Nina is the one who told Rick. You can see it in the
Mhm.
subtext. Nina was like, oh, Rick was like, I have an ace up my sleeve. Nina was like acting all funny when she saw Sasha. It was really clear that Nina told Rick. And people were like, well, maybe it was Ava. Listen, I could never stand Nina. I could never, because Nina does the same thing every time. She's trifling and she don't stand on business. I like characters who are trifling who stand in it.
Mhm.
But the show should not have like people were fighting about whether or not it was Nina up until Nina said it was Nina. Like, of course it was her.
And then she
So
was like, even before the trial started, she was saying to Willow, "Don't worry, everything's going to be okay." Like
when
she
she saw
knew,
Sasha,
yeah, she knew.
yes. So Sasha gets on the stand. Rick starts like hammering her because even before the trial, Jason had even said, like, oh, Rick doesn't know, don't worry about it, whatever, whatever. And he's like grilling her. It comes out about the affair. I want to know how you feel about this. So we know the sequencing, which I'm glad Diane brought out, which was like they had two kisses. She had seen one. Willow was like telling Sasha that she couldn't stay away from Drew. When Michael found out about the kiss, he went and got drunk, and him and Sasha slept together. And now they're like, well, Michael cheated first. Do you think Michael cheated first?
No. And I know men don't see it that way either. I've heard over and over throughout my lifetime that when you, as a woman, you do anything intimate with another man, no matter what it is,
That's true.
they feel like that is adultery. And
Mm-hmm.
Michael felt like Willow kissing Drew twice and not even talking to him about it was adultery in his eyes. And that's why
Mm-hmm.
he was like so pissed and went and slept with Sasha. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so to me, I felt what Willow did was worse because she was acting on feelings that she had for Drew outside of her marriage. She had had these feelings for a long time. They've been
Right.
fighting it for a long time. They, gave into it twice. And she didn't, well, she told him only the one time.
Mm-hmm.
And then Michael found out the second time after having she slept with
Mm-hmm.
with Sasha, but just that one time, that's a
Mm-hmm.
lot. And so, I felt that she cheated first,
Yeah. Me
timeline
too.
wise.
Me too.
Um,
I Yeah.
Personally.
I also kind of was like, the infidelity feels important to me when it comes to like the divorce settlement, and so maybe
Hmm.
that's one thing. It doesn't feel as important to me when it comes to custody, because it's
Right.
about like who was creating an unstable home for these
Home.
children, and that was
Yeah.
Willow with Drew. The other thing, so going back to this conversation that Michael was having with Christina, he was like, Willow and I never really knew each other. I never really showed her my darkest parts, blah blah blah. I was like, the problem for me though is that it when like one of the few times that Michael actually let Willow in, it was like, I'm not gonna lie to you, was around Jason, when Jason
Hmm.
came back and he was in the boathouse. And what
Right.
happened? Willow immediately went and told Drew.
Yeah.
She has been carrying on an emotional affair with this man, crossing the boundaries of her marriage for a very long time.
Hmm. And for
So,
me, it seems like such a betrayal because Michael stayed loyal to her for the longest until it became obvious that she was betraying him.
mhm,
He stuck by her through the cancer, through, whatever.
mhm,
Um, that was for me, I was just like, that's horrible. That's
mhm.
like, I heard another celebrity divorce his wife after she donated a kidney to him. I was like, what are you doing? Like, that is just all that is just crazy. When you stick by somebody through thick and thin, through health issues, through all of that, and then you go and cheat, that's like the ultimate betrayal. So for me, I felt, and then also Willow's destruction of the marriage is long term. It wasn't like a one-off thing because I was angry. It was the
Mhm.
feelings and then the continued ongoing. You can't even restrain yourself until you get a divorce. You go in and you move in with the guy, you take the kids, you do all kinds of things. You're all up in the press talking about I'm gonna stand by my man and all this with a wedding ring of somebody else on your finger. You're crazy. Just like she's totally the one that destroyed the marriage, not Michael.
Yes,
And
yes.
so yeah, and
Absolutely destroyed the marriage. And so even if
right.
you think back to like to your point, for me with Michael and Willow, again, like I said, I was never a fan of this like family. It was boring to me. I didn't really chemistry is subjective. I never saw it for them. And Willow was done when she was done. When everybody found out about the video, which Diane played in court, which was crazy, but when everybody found that out, um, she went to Michael, yelled at him for knowing and not telling
Right.
her, and then left with them kids and instantly tried to spend holidays with Drew. She never gave any, it was like, oh my God, my husband found out I cheated with you. Like, this is a problem. She never gave any space between her and Drew. You wanted to be with Drew while you were in your marriage. And then when you got caught cheating, you use it as an opportunity for you to go be with this man.
And then
You
instead
did
of
not
doing
miss a
the right,
beat.
you did not miss me. Instead of doing the right thing as a mother to talk to the father of your kids about how to do custody, she did not talk to him. She waited and waited until, okay, he's recovered now. So I'm going to fly out to, Germany and talk to him now when I'm desperate and I need to make a case for myself. Not before. You could have talked to
Mm-hmm.
him the night that you took the kids for Christmas. You didn't talk to him then. You could have talked to him like, several times. You had so many opportunities to have that conversation. Like, I know I cheated on you. I have feelings for Drew. Our marriage is probably over, but let's figure out what we can do about these children. She never did that as
She
a
never
responsible
did it.
mother.
Mm-hmm. She never did
She
that. That's
listened
exactly
to
right.
Drew. She listened to Drew. She listened to Nina. She listened to everything else except her own instincts as a mom, if she had some.
Right. And every single thing they said about her that was true, Drew and Willow are looking scandalized. Drew, you were a part of every one of these things. What did you think was going to happen? You upended these kids. You put her in these positions, and she allowed you to do it. So she put herself in these positions. So
Right.
anyway, on the stand, Rick is going at Sasha. Comes out. Michael's the baby daddy, and Sasha goes into labor. Oh, the drama. Oh, the drama of it all. I thought it was so soapy. One of the most soapy things that has happened on this show in forever. I'm trying to find what I wrote. I said, you know, it sweeps when your wife delivers your side baby after your mistress went into labor at your divorce hearing.
And it was
This is
like,
why we watch soaps. That kind of wild, fantastical nonsense. I was like, give it to me, injected in my veins. I love it.
it was wild. Like, it was wild to have Willow see the obvious care that Michael and Sasha have for each other and their baby. It was like they were looking at each other all romantic,
I thought they
and
were
he was
gonna
saying,
kiss.
yes, and he was all like, this is what we've been waiting for. I saw the sonogram and all this other stuff. And she's
You're
like,
so
oh,
strong.
you're so strong and you can do this. This is our baby's coming, like they were a romantic couple.
It
And
looked
this is
like a husband with
a
his
husband and his
wife.
wife, right? And she's sitting up there like having to deliver that baby. This is so crazy.
I Rory and Sophia, listen, Misha 2.0, you got me. I'm on the ship. I am early. I'm checking the lifeboats. We in here, okay? I'm playing with the band on the ship.
And so for me, I was thinking, especially after the birthright, no conversation about, she's all throughout the pregnancy, she's like, I want to raise this kid by myself. This is mine, 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 mine. I don't want to have anything to do with, I don't want Michael to have anything to do with baby, all that stuff. As soon as the baby's born, it's like, oh, Michael, me and Michael we haven't talked about it, but I want you to be, the
But Godfather,
godfather. All this stuff. Letting Carly in to see the baby, and Carly's like, I'm the grandmother. She didn't be like, hold on. No, she was like,
no.
yes, and none of that, right? Now, of course, she's in the kind of the, I don't want to like, she's in the joy of having, being a first
Mm-hmm.
time mom and all this other stuff, and
Yeah.
it's all new and everything. But when Michael, before she had labor, asked her, did you change your mind about me being in Michael's life? She didn't give an answer.
Nope.
And the funny thing is it's like, not only has Rory given Michael a glow up from the audience perspective, I'm thinking Sasha as a character is seeing the Michael glow up when he comes back full of power, taking his kids,
Mm-hmm.
taking charge. She's like, ooh, she
That's
might be
her.
like,
That's her man.
this is the Michael I remember when we were in a relationship. I
Mm-hmm.
want to be with this. She's like, she's not consciously thinking it, but her body and her heart is responding to this Michael glow up. And then
Mm-hmm.
we're seeing it in real time. It's happening as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah,
She's
I
like,
loved
Jay,
it.
no, 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 she's like, she has admiration for Jason and really appreciates him. Go be the godfather. But right
Damn.
now,
Yeah. No, no, no. This it's happening. Misha is
yeah.
rising, friends, and I am on the ship. Um, so let's like rewind a little bit to the courthouse. So
Mhm.
Carly finds out that Nina is the one who exposed Sasha. When Carly finds this out, she goes off and then she tells Drew Nina was the one who drugged you. Now, I thought for whatever reason that Drew knew that, but I
Yeah.
guess not. I mean, he knew the Portia piece of it, but he didn't know the Nina piece of it. So Rick is also standing there. So Rick hears it, has very little reaction. Um, so this happens. I also love Carly's like little like head nod, like when she, like after she
Right.
told it. I loved Drew right before Carly said it. She was like, Drew was like, Willow and I are in love, and you just can't stand it. And both
But yeah, that meme was hilarious. That meme, everyone was just like, oh my God.
Nina and Carly, like, I was like, this is the one little time where like the Venn diagram where they come together in the middle. And so Nina goes to the hospital and tells Sasha she was the one who told.
Mm.
I got my feelings about Nina. I'm gonna do another Nina rant, but I want to hear how you felt about that.
I, I don't know. I feel some kind of way about Sasha just forgiving her. Like, I understand she's exhausted and she just wants to focus on her child, blah, blah, blah. But still, you got to give Nina some kind of, you know, like feelings about her betraying. Sasha has been the one true daughter that Nina has always craved, even though she's
Mm-hmm.
not her daughter. Sasha
Mm-hmm.
has supported Nina throughout, just giving her the benefit of doubt, not shunning her, going to see her, wanting to, make sure that she's okay. And yet
Mm-hmm.
you portrayed that relationship for someone who has hated you from the beginning, whose decisions you are questioning. It was like the relationship is like on a tender thread, and you throw the real relationship you have with Sasha away for Willow. That is wild to me. And if I was Sasha, I'd be like really hurt by it, and just be like, I don't understand. And
Mm-hmm.
so, but Sasha, she got her baby. She got what she wants. She ain't got
Right.
time for beef. She's like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
I think Nina got off way too easy, personally. She
Mm-hmm.
felt, but it also goes to show the level of relationship she has with Sasha, that she could tell Sasha everything she does
Yep.
wrong.
Yep.
She can't do that with Willow.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope Nina realizes that, especially when everything comes out and Willow just, probably disowns her.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, oh, you hit that's like that piece about Sasha. Like I saw conversation about it, and I
Mhm.
just like was like, because I've started tweeting about the show a little bit more, but I just don't get into back and forth with people because like it's not that important to me online. And so I like saw people talking about like, well, Sasha came into this like city doing whatever to Nina, and so Nina deserves. Let's pause for a second. Sasha has paid for what she did to Nina. Nina
Mhm.
pressed charges on Sasha.
Mhm.
Like Sasha became like a drug addict because she couldn't be with Michael. Like let's not pretend like Sasha has just been walking around free of like consequences, free of punishment, free of whatever. Sasha has had everything happen to her, which is why I was so happy to see her with her daughter. Sasha
Mhm.
is not a character that just gets away with everything at no
Right.
point.
Right.
And if Nina was still mad about what Sasha did, then Nina shouldn't have pretended to be so close to Sasha. That should be water under the bridge between the two of them, and they should have moved
Mhm.
forward. Because
Right.
I remember when Willow was like, denouncing Nina, and all of the Nina fans were like, "Oh, Sasha is the daughter that Nina deserves." So
Right.
first is Sasha is the daughter that Nina deserves, but now it's, well, Nina deserved to do whatever to Sasha. No. And this is why I don't like the character of Nina, because all of the excuses that get made for her never make sense. And she always does this. I went back, I was like looking at clips of GH yesterday. And so I remember when she went to court in Pennsylvania for like keeping Sunny, and Scott started going after Willow on the stand. She's like, "No, it's too much. It's too you hired a shark. What did you think was going to happen?"
Mhm.
Then the same thing happened in the visitation hearing when Scott was going after Michael, and Nina was like, "No, it's too much. It's too much." What did you think was going to happen? You put people through the ringer so that you can have visitation after you did what you did. And now all of a sudden, when like she always gets to hide behind, "Oh my God, I feel so bad about the thing that I put in motion." And I don't buy it. Stand on it. Sasha, don't come in my room crying when I'm in the joy of just having my child after everything that's happened to me. You come in here trying to assuage your guilt, and like Nina stands are like, "Oh, well, look at Nina being a good person." No, look at Nina stealing Sasha's moments of joy.
Right.
How dare you? And then to your point, she went in there knowing full well that, or believing that Sasha would forgive her eventually.
Mhm.
But you can't even tell your daughter she shouldn't be with Drew because you're scared to lose her. I'm not buying it. I don't want to hear it. Our friend of the show, Tara from Port Misery, tweeted something. I wanted to read it and I wanted to get your take. She said it took 6 years, but Willow managed to find and become reliant on a completely new version of Harmony and a completely new version of Shiloh. Two people
Ooh.
more concerned with her with their proximity to her than they are about her as a person.
Mm.
And I was like, wow.
Yeah,
Like that,
that's pretty deep. That is
the,
pretty deep.
like Will, like Nina is trying to be this mother to Willow, and I'm not trying to pretend like it's easy to become a parent to an adult. And I'm
Yeah.
also not trying to pretend like it's easy to become a parent after everything that Nina has done to Willow. And you can be a person. Like you could be a person first, and you're not. Anyway,
Oof.
I can never stand Nina. The end.
Yeah.
And the baby, the
No, I
baby's
don't think that's
name
the end. It's gonna be ongoing. Don't end it. To be continued. That's what it is.
to be continued. The baby, they named the baby Daisy, and as people have pointed out, it could be like Whoopsie Daisy. That was their Oopsie baby.
Or Oopsie Daisy.
Um, and so Michael like leaves to go pick up the kids. Like Willow sees him, he's like, "I want to get the kids." He was so happy. But Willow then stays. She tells Drew she's staying. They have this like nice family moment because Wiley's like, "Can mom go?" And Michael's like, "Yes, mom can go. Come join us."
Mhm.
And they have this moment
Hey,
where they're looking at the new baby. Um, for whatever reason, Willow thinks that this means that she won. Also, they had Carly saying that they believe that she won. I can't believe that that's true. But we see Drew like a freaking psychopath creep looking through the window, looking through the window at them looking at their family. This is, or like the family looking at this new baby. The other thing is that Nina has like told Drew, like, don't tell Willow about the drugging because she'll then tell him that, or tell uh, Willow that they slept together and they'll both lose her. I don't know if Willow would leave Drew for that.
he would probably have side eye her mom, but she probably won't leave Drew because
Yeah,
she is that sucked in to this, cult-like behavior in him.
yeah,
And she sees that she has no one else. Like she's clearly lost Michael to Sasha.
yeah, yeah.
She ain't got nobody else.
Yeah. I,
Ah.
yeah, I mean, I'm curious. So, like, we have things that haven't come out. That is not fully
Uh-huh.
out. We also don't have fully out that she went to go visit Michael. So we don't know about the like Michael or like Drew paying off the front desk person to like lie. So that hasn't
Right.
come out yet. I'm imagining that has to come out soon. And it's actually very shocking that it hasn't been like discussed yet. So it's like the
Yeah.
conversations are not like natural, basically.
Mhm.
Um, so we're waiting on that. And I'm interested to see how the fallout, if there is fallout between Nina with Sasha and Maxie, because
Mm.
Sasha and Maxie are close, and
Mhm.
so I'm interested to see if that is like something that actually happens. So we talked that into the ground. Is there anything that we missed with the custody?
No, not with the custody. Yeah, yeah. Oh, well, I did want to just shout out to Sunny. I think part of the reason why Michael was like, yes, come and look at, come with us to introduce the kids. Um, Sunny talked to Michael and said, hey, this point really like compromise
Mm-hmm.
is probably your best option. And so
Right.
Michael took that advice. I
Yeah.
enjoyed the reunion with Michael and Sunny. I thought, obviously, Rory is getting all the opportunities. He's like
Mm-hmm.
working with heavy hitters on the show. He is super important. And
Mm-hmm.
so he, had great scenes with Sunny. I'm looking forward to more, Sunny was Sunny is being like the person of wisdom, even though
Yeah,
he
he is.
is he's the criminal of the show, but he's, calm. He's not, going like his meds are working really well. He's like he's making decisive decisions and just being like the person being like, hey, calming both of his children, being the patriarch. Somebody had tweeted like, does like what happens to Sonny if he actually gives up his business? Like, what does he do? I was like, he doesn't have to do anything. He could be like the wise, patriarch or the philanthropist of GH, who who just
Hmm.
sits back and just gives money and gives advice to people. He could graduate to that status if he was. He doesn't have to be a mobster to be on the show and be a character on the show. So,
Hmm.
and that's what he's doing now. So, but still, he
Hmm.
has that slight air of menace when people threaten him. That's what I love about
Yeah,
Sunny.
yeah, yeah. Um, really quickly want to hop on talking about like the Rick and Alexis blackmail. So the Dolos Fund, um, apparently like Laura gets like a statement about Ace's money,
Yeah.
and the psychic, the lady who used to be a psychic, who's now
Uh,
Alexis's assistant, pulls like the stuff, pulls like the money. We find out that already Rick and Ava have extorted $10 million. What is going $10 million already? This just happened.
right.
What are y'all doing?
Well, did she
Uh,
ask? Didn't they ask for? Well, no. So Ava asked for her money back so she could pay off her bills. It had to be a substantial sum. Maybe it was
sure.
like 5 million or whatever.
I
And
mean,
then
I'm sure it
Rick,
was a lot,
yeah. So yeah, and the fact that she is doubling, but I don't know why Laura just, took her explanation. Was like, so can you
well,
like, yeah, yeah,
no, I was gonna say, well, Laura acted like she didn't want Ace to have the money at all. So I'm confused as to why you're so deep in the finances yourself.
right. None of them wanted to have anything to do with this money, and now they're all concerned about it.
But then Marco looks at like just glance eyeballs it and is like, "Oh yeah, this is extortion, girl. Do you need some help?"
And he's like,
I'm like,
he didn't believe none of her explanation. He's like, all
"No,
right, you
it's
know where
okay,
I'm
girl."
at.
I
I'm here if you
definitely
need
loved,
anything.
I definitely loved him being like, "All right, well, you do you, girl. You continue to be extorted if you want to." Yeah, okay. But it just like was so striking to me how bad Rick and Alexis both are at this. Like, if you're going to be doing this, it should be little by little, piece by piece. You don't need $10 million right now. Do that over time. You don't need that right in this moment. It would be different for Ava, who like needs to like catch up, do whatever,
Yeah.
whatever. Rick, you just being greedy.
Yes.
You're bad at this, sir, and you should be better because you are evil. So I don't know.
You weren't just evil just today. You've been evil. So you should have really thought more about this.
Also, people who are bad at this, let's talk about Black Hospital. Let's talk about Drew, or talk about Jordan, Curtis, Portia, all the things. First of all, I also want to talk about Trinity and Kai. I am so upset that Kai don't have not a scar.
None.
I know this is soap and so things are gonna happen, but we should not have had to sit through just like all of this about you having a spinal surgery and then you be outside in swim trunks with nothing wrong in the water, no
No,
nothing,
no recovery. Like just
not a band-aid.
nothing. Not nothing. I mean, that's just crazy.
Okay. So anyway, for whatever reason, Curtis and Portia throw like a barbecue or something at their house. Shout out to Hat Daddy showing up for like two
Hat
days. I was
Daddy.
like, okay, I did miss you, sir.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, maybe he'll get an Emmy because you know they love to give him Emmys. He can submit this for guest spot or something. But we also got a TJ mention,
Yes.
which I'm
TJ is
like,
too busy at work. He couldn't come today. Sir,
you talk about the same at the same hospital where we'll never see him.
ever. He's not getting any of these high profile cases. He could have been like, the emergency doctor on call when Sasha had her baby. Because, it doesn't matter what your actual specialty is, you're doing all the patients when you're the popular doctor.
Right,
So,
right.
so,
Mm, annoying. So
right.
then, so they have this. They're having this time. We see Hat Daddy talking to Kai and Trina, um, all about Kai, but whatever. And then Curtis and Portia go inside, and Kai overhears them talking about how they're about to set up Drew. So Curtis wants to find the woman who was with him. I forget her name, but the woman that was with him, and bring her back and have her like lie and say that you took the drugs and whatever.
Mhm.
So Kai overhears this, and then they just drop it. We don't
Yeah.
see nothing else about Kai here. We don't know what Kai felt. We don't know if he said something to Trina. We're assuming this is going to be their drama, but again, how is it drama if you don't follow through with it?
Right. But and then also they never followed through with Isaiah overhearing Portia talk to, I forgot who it was, but she was talking about how she's been lying to Curtis. But I think there's some previews for next week maybe that they're talking about it, but it's just like randomness. Like they're not really treating the story very well for our Black hospital.
No, not at all. And so then Jordan is also like in the mix. So Jordan is like going over to the house. I was like, not you went over to your ex house who
Uh,
you kissed while he was married to his
uh,
wife, and then sitting
right.
in her house while she not there talking about her. This is wild.
They're doing some like somebody had on social media was like this, it looks like there's going to do a Black hospital couple
Right,
SWAT. So
right. Not interested, but here we are.
right.
We
I think
also then
Isaiah, I don't know. I don't know if Isaiah and Portia go well to me. It doesn't. Oh.
no, I don't see it. I don't see it.
Right.
And I don't want Isaiah anywhere near Willow either.
Right.
So we do have Jordan doing like all these things with Sidwell. And so it seems like they are combining stories or like at least like having stories like intersect. So we
Hmm.
have Sidwell knowing Dalton, the professor, and Jordan and Jocelyn being a part of like a lunch with them. We have them making Trina look silly defending Jocelyn to Emma, even though we all know that Jocelyn did do some shady stuff. Which I just also want to go on record to be like, I don't care about that. Like, I don't care about Jocelyn doing shady stuff. Um,
Right.
and then we have, I was disgusted at Dalton eyeballing Emma. I like, ugh, yuck, gross. I don't want it. And I think, I mean, obviously it feels like Emma is like honeypotting. So I do wonder because like, there has been like questions about whether or not Emma is like a part of like the DVX or something or whatever. We also then saw that Vaughn, who is Jocelyn's handler, saw and like noticed Emma like trying to
Yeah.
work Dalton. So I do wonder if that's gonna like come out in some kind of way, and like they're gonna create like some kind of spy drama between Emma and Jocelyn, not just like homework drama.
Yeah, because when she first started flirting with Dalton, I was like, what happened to Geo? But then she started kind of putting Geo in the mix too. So then I was like feeling a little better. I was like offended
Mm-hmm.
at both of them. I was like, I didn't like it. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I just think that Dawson's a creep, and I think for me, for Tracy, I I don't want to see this anyway, but I certainly don't want to see this going on while the Drew and Willow stuff is going on.
right.
Because there is something about the Drew and Willow thing that nobody is speaking to that is extremely icky, and it's that age gap.
Yeah.
Willow once looked up at Drew like some kind of hero, some kind of father figure. She wanted Drew to walk her down the aisle at her wedding, and now like that's her man, and he's like purposefully manipulating her and destroying her life, and like she's like working with him to destroy her own life.
Right.
That is very gross, and so to be having it happen, I don't care if Emma's in control of this. I don't want some like creep professor looking at her this way.
Hmm. Also,
Yeah.
on a writing tip, notice how they switched Emma from going to Berkeley to now North Coastal U. Did
Oh
you
no, I
notice
didn't
that?
see that. Mm-mm.
Yeah. So for a long time, she had, everyone's like, oh, she's in Berkeley, she's at Berkeley, blah blah blah. And now, when Anna was talking with what was it, the WSB guy,
Oh,
she's
Brennan.
like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So Emma, I'm looking into this professor, and he's at North Coastal U with Emma. And I was like, North Coastal U, okay. Because I think what it is like you don't. I think they're not trying to have Berkeley tied to any kind of scandal, so they got to change the name of the
That
school.
makes sense.
Because I
Okay.
know Berkeley's lawyers are probably looking at this and like, what? You're saying we're doing animal testing at our school and we're letting people get away with it?
Yeah.
It's not happening.
Yeah. They're like, do
So,
not put us in your mess. You right.
right.
That's really funny. Okay. All right. So we will see what happens. I'm not particularly happy about it, but we will see what happens.
Yeah.
We also have like the ADA going after. She wants to be DA. Now, when I
Mm.
found out Robert was still DA, I was like, Anna, you're gonna have to let that go.
Oh, Robert still BA and he's off in another country, not
Like
doing any work.
we ain't even heard Robert and Holly called Sasha about her baby. We ain't even heard that. So no, Robert cannot be DA. I don't know this ADA. I think she's whatever. But there is something that's so funny about Port Charles that is like they don't know how to position Sonny because they've made him such a people don't hate Sonny. It's weird to hate Sonny now. And so yeah, I mean, if I'm the citizen of Port Charles and I see the mayor with the mob boss, I might be like, this is weird. And
First
if
of
I see
all,
the
poor
DA with Jason or like the police commissioner with Jason, I might be like, yeah, this is weird.
First of all, poor Charles should be questioning all of their elected officials. Laura leaving the country for months on end, still able to be mayor. She go off traipsing across the world to look for her son, still able to be mayor. None of their elected officials do their jobs well. They are not consistent. They leave the country. All of them get a side eye as far as
Yes,
yeah, because I mean,
absolutely.
even though the antagonist guy is a jerk to our favorite character, Laura, he ain't wrong.
You're not wrong.
He's not wrong. She's like the worst mayor, constantly having lunches on company time, just doing
Why are you
whatever.
having lunch with Sonny by the pool? Girl, what is this?
Just chilling.
Especially Rocco had to like not have Sonny come to his debate tournament, but you just at the Metroport chilling with him. What's going on? What are we talking about here? And then yeah, like Anna meeting Jason in like dark quarters. Also, why was the ADA running through the hood at night? Girl, get something to do. Get you a treadmill. What's going on?
Late at night in Port
Like,
Charles,
get up and
single
run in the
woman.
morning. Get up and run in the
Oh,
morning. That was funny to me. But so we have Natalia getting drunk. She was wearing that white dress. She's like, that's the same white dress that Carly wore to the Five Families meeting. But she has on this white dress. She gets belligerently drunk by the pool, which it didn't seem like she got belligerently drunk. It seemed like she had like one drink, maybe two.
Yeah, it depends on what she was drinking because it looked like water, but it's probably like they're pretending it's a bunch of
Everclear?
vodka.
I don't
Vodka,
know.
straight vodka, 100%.
So she falls out with Marco. Marco is mad at her for whatever. Or for being a homophobe. I don't want to say for whatever.
Yeah.
Marco is like, let me be very clear. Because the first thing I said is, we got to see this homophobe doing Pride Month. Get her out of here. um, she gets into it with Marco because she wants for Marco to connect her back with Blaze because she should be going on
Right.
tour with Blaze. Now, I was confused because I remember seeing Jacqueline in some pictures with them. So I'm like, are they going to bring Blaze back for a day or two, or did they just like meet up for lunch? I didn't know where they were.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Probably was like just a meetup, or maybe I don't know. You're right. I'm not even trying to guess because it's
Yeah, I don't
weird. When
know.
they brought Marco in, I thought they were gonna bring back Blaze,
Right?
but it doesn't look like that's happening.
No.
And right now, Christina needs a relationship because she's just flailing all over the place.
Oh my god. Um, yeah, she's a mess. And so she, Marco's like, no, I'm not doing that. They get into it. Marco tells her he didn't want to have nothing to do with her, and so she leaves. She's drunk. She's on the road. Gets put over for a DUI. Felt very ripped from the GH former cast headlines, to be honest. And she gets in, and she's at the precinct, very belligerent. Calls Marco. He doesn't answer, and that Molly like recuses herself.
Hmm.
The ADA, this big ADA, whatever, comes in and looks like she's gonna try to use Natalia to get information on Sunny. Now, I don't think Natalia knows anything about Sunny, but we shall see what the rewrite is on that.
I thought it was interesting to have the actor's real wife go and confront the character's ex-wife. Like, oh,
Yeah,
that's cute.
yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, I'm interested in this. I love Eva LaRue. I've never liked this character, so
Right.
hopefully she's out of here. Good riddance. Um, I don't know. It was always back to me. So that happened, and then we also see that Sidwell kind of wants Sonny's property and thinks that he could pass like the measure will drop if like Sonny sells his property to him. I don't know if he's connected to this ADA. I don't know what's all happening there, but I want them to move this story along because it's kind of boring to me. I don't know how it feels to you.
I know I'm always interested in what Sidwell's doing because the character is just very intriguing to me. But I'm not necessarily interested in Natalia's part in it. That's what I'm not interested in.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Especially because Natalia's already betrayed Sonny. She's the one who
Hmm.
told Sidwell about him getting surgery,
Right.
and yeah, I don't know. I'm not interested. Um, two more stories to talk about. One, we'll dive into the hot take. So the second to last is the continued follow up from Gio's like parental reveal. We start the week with Rocco finding out online, which of course he did.
Hmm.
And like they're teenagers, of course. Like, how did you think this
Right.
wasn't going to go viral?
Right.
Um,
Especially, Gio being a famous he's probably like live streams his performances or whatever.
and the nurses ball is live streamed and all of that.
Yeah.
Like, so anyhow, so Rocco is like, how did this happen? I continue to like have leave something to be desired for the way that Dante is talking about Brooklyn, but
Hmm.
Anyway, Rocco like brings up like, yeah, you kind of messed up with Gio before. Do you need me to talk to him? And Lulu continues to like not get it and be like, well, people are hurting now, but it'll be over.
I also felt like even though she told Rocco that yes, she was the one that, let the cat out the bag, I also felt like she wasn't honest about her intentions. Again, she's still in denial. So she may have said, I just wanted to make sure your dad knew the truth. She should have said, oh, and I also hate Brooklyn. And so that was the reason why. No, you're not gonna say that to your son, but it just means like it just still feels like she's in denial of the reason why she did all this stuff, and she's getting
Mm-hmm.
away with it, except for when it comes to Dante. Even though they seem to be, kind of in a truce when it comes to, Rocco.
Right.
Because I've seen parents who be like, we're only parents, we're never gonna be friends. That's what Lulu said. We're never gonna be friends. And you could still feel the tension between the two of them when they're, in the same room. But I didn't really still feel any tension,
Mm-hmm.
as far as I was concerned when they were with Rocco. It was almost like they just
Yeah.
had a fight and now it's over.
Yeah.
you know.
But they
But
have Laura talking to Sunny about how there will always be or they'll be tension for a long time. So
time, right? I'm like,
yeah.
it doesn't seem like it, but maybe they're just gonna be really great at pretending. Um, but yeah, so that was a
Yeah.
good conversation. Um, and then you didn't really touch on this, but Dante has a conversation with Sunny, and
Yep.
again, Sunny being that person of wisdom, talks to Dante about how he needs to, step up. And one of the things that, when it comes to Sunny and Dante, I just thought it was a good retread for me on them really knowing what it's like to go through this situation. Um, and so I just thought it was a very interesting perspective to have, and those conversations were really great with Sunny and Dante. Um,
Yeah. I do
yeah,
love a Mo Dom scene. I think they were really good.
yeah,
I thought that it was interesting for like Dante to be like, I understand now. This, I mean, it's similar, but it's very different.
it is
Like,
there. Yeah, Sunny shot you, so
Sonny shot you
it's
in the
different.
chest, bro. Like that's very different than being yelled at.
Right.
Um, but I do think it was good to hear Dante speak out loud that he had forgiven Olivia, but he
Uh-huh.
was having a hard time forgiving Brooklyn.
Brooklyn.
That
Yeah.
felt really important to me because if we go into the conversation that Brooklyn was having with John Travolta's sister Gloria and Lois, I was so put off by them. And
Oh my God.
there's something
Yeah.
that GH does because they're really focusing now on this like, well, if we would have known when Camilla died, then no, that has not been my point ever. And it's funny because like people have been like replying back to me. I've sometimes ignored it, whatever. But my point was never any of that. The reality is that Brooklyn said she wanted to put her baby up for adoption because that's what she thought she needed to do. They haven't touched on like the Catholicism of that family, but that's in the background there. So Brooklyn says she wants to put this baby up for adoption. She says, I want to close the adoption and I want the baby to be able to find me in the future. If they want to. And Lois says, okay, I'll take care of it. Instead of if you knew that that's not what you were going to do, then that's not what you should have said because that's actually
Mhm.
not supporting your daughter's choice. It's not like supporting her and be like, well, I just wanted to like say to you that I was doing whatever. No, as her mother, you should have said, here are the options, and here's my fear about this closed adoption thing. Even though it's really messed up that they're treating adoption this way, because somebody even said to me, like, well, they wouldn't have known. What if the household would have been abusive? People do adoptions all the time. You interview families, you become part of it. They did a similar story. They're doing a similar story right now on Days of teenagers who became pregnant who are like interviewing people to take their baby. That is normal. You can find a good family and a good home for your baby. And I actually think it's a little irresponsible to be telling a story that makes it seem like it's impossible to do that. Of course, you can't guarantee any family or anybody, but adoption, like you can do that for your kids. And or like you can find like try to find the best family for your kids. And if that was the case, that is what Lois should have done. That's not what Lois was doing. Lois took away Brooklyn's choice, and she was selfish because she wanted to still have Geo around her. It wasn't just about like I wanted to make sure he went to a good home. It's I wanted to still be in his life, and I lied to you about it. That is the problem. I don't understand like it's been tough for me to see other parts of the conversation happen because I'm very like clear that this is like a reproductive freedom issue.
Mm. One of the things that I didn't appreciate about Lois and Grandma, they were it harkened to me about how families are and cultured. I guess for me, I was likened it to Black families, but culturally, there's a certain level of respect that some elders feel are deserved, right?
Mm-hmm.
So grandma comes in here hard, like, don't you talk to your mother like that, or don't you talk to me like that. You give us respect. And
Mm-hmm.
in some instances, Brooklyn um, responds to that and just like is quiet or whatever. Um, it's almost like, and like they came in expecting that Brooklyn would just forgive them
Right.
because they were doing what was best. And as the elder, as the mother, or as the grandmother, the daughter should just, respect that. It's definitely a generational thing because
Mm-hmm.
now kids are like, pointing out things that parents are doing that are wrong. They're not
Mm-hmm.
automatically accepting it. They're not automatically just, living with it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that whole conversation, I just kept hearing that over and over again. Don't yell at us, respect us, listen to what we're saying, knowing that what we did as the parent was the right thing just because we are your parents or we're your mom. And it doesn't work like that. Parents make mistakes all the time. And now kids are coming wise to it and being like, you actually messed up my childhood, with your
Mm-hmm.
upbringing. I'm trying to do better. Or I'm actually confronting you because you weren't a good parent or you made a decision that was wrong. And I need you to just own up to it instead of being like, well, I'm the mama. And so whatever I did is fine. No, that's not the case. And that's how grandma came into this conversation, thinking that I'm just going to be forgiven because I'm the grandma. No, Brooklyn stood
Mm-hmm.
up. At the end, she was just like, I'm not having it. Y'all get out because I don't need this kind of toxicity in my space right now. And so she did that. And so I'm like, that's really great. It really shows how, as a society, our generation and younger are like, no, you can't get away with the stuff that you've done, this toxic decision making, and having the rest of us have to pay dearly for it. Y'all need to own up to the stuff that you've been doing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, it was also just like unapologetic.
Right.
It wasn't. It was
Unapologetic.
not. It was. Yeah. It was so off-putting. Geo comes home. Geo is kind of still in this mode of like, you didn't want me.
Right.
There's something I kind of wanted Brooklyn to say, but they're not doing it because they're focusing on this Camilla thing. But which is like, I spent 22 years like hoping that my kid would come find me. That I felt good about like knowing that I couldn't give them a good life, but I hope that when they got older, like I've been looking over my shoulder for all of these years, thinking that they could come find me, and that wasn't even an option because y'all lied to me about how this happened.
Mhm.
And I think that's like a point that's missing because it's not getting touched on. And so Geo with the like you didn't want me, I do hope that eventually they're able to sit down and be like, look, it's not about not wanting you, it's about wanting you to have the best life that I couldn't have given you. Because yeah, there's only so far that the that you didn't want me thing could go. But we'll see. I thought it was, as you said, very well acted. When Brooklyn kicked them out the house, get out. It was like,
I,
I'm gonna go pack my things. No, I'll have the staff send it to you.
right. But I felt that. I felt that for all the kids who had to tell their parents, y'all were wrong.
Hmm.
Get
Yeah.
out.
It was
So,
also weird though that Lois went to Sunny and was like, you got to look out for Geo because nobody is. Everybody's looking out for Geo. What are you
right.
talking about? Like, this again is like this like thing that Lois is doing as if like nobody can take care of this kid when everybody has been.
Hmm.
He's been beloved since birth.
This is definitely Geo. It's funny. It's like Geo feels abandoned and orphaned, but this is like the ultimate neighborhood child. Like
Yeah.
everybody is taking care of him from Brooklyn, from wherever, not Brooklyn, but Brooklyn City, and, to Port Charles. Everyone is looking out for this kid. He's the
Hmm.
most, looked out for, cared for child that I've ever seen.
Right.
But imagine, but I just can't be put into his place, though, obviously, because it's just different. But from the outside looking in, everybody's looking out for him.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's get into this last story that's going to blend a little bit into casting news. My LNL2 heart is broken.
Hmm.
Broken. Oh. So, start the week with Lucky telling Liz about Christina and the car accident and all of that. So, finally being honest with her.
Hmm.
He then like also kind of did some like guilt tripping stuff, which was like, yeah, if you want to tell, you can, but I'm gonna be an accessory. Okay, Lucky. Okay, so she decides not to. Um, and we think everything's gonna be good. She finds like a ring box. Even I, as like an LNL2 stan, was like, "What is this, bro? You just stop lying."
Right.
Like, absolutely not. You do not get to propose to her. That's crazy. So he proposes to her after they do like he sets up a very beautiful dinner for her after she finally gets that cast off and she doesn't know, which fair. And then it's like, I just know that you don't want to be here, blah, blah, blah. And because I don't know anything behind the scenes yet, I'm like, what's happening here? And he's like, you're right, but let's go together. And she's like, what about Aiden? He's like, okay, well, let's let Aiden finish school and then we'll go. Elizabeth is a head nurse who has never shown that she's wanted to like be out on the road. She is not your mama. She is like very attached and rooted in Port Charles. And let me say that I'm not even an Elizabeth fan. And even I was like, what are we talking about here? And so then he decides he's gonna leave. So I am confused. Like, what? I'm like, what's about to happen to force him to stay? But also forcing him to stay is like making me mad because I'm an LNL2 fan, and so that shouldn't have had to happen. And then we get the news that Jonathan Jackson is leaving the show. I Please take it away from me. I'm infuriated. I can't even talk about it anymore.
I mean, I was not shocked. Because I think we had talked about it earlier and I had said something, well, maybe he has some sort of special contract where, he's only on like once a week or whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
then at the same time, I'm like, this story is horrible for him. We've talked about all the ways that, the writers have failed him when, first coming into town for Lulu and not being the donor. What the hell? We went through all of this for you not to be a donor and not coming in to save the day, and then
Mm-hmm.
having him be all involved in this storyline with Christina. Why does he care about what's going on with Christina? Why does he focus so much energy on Christina? He should be doing that with Elizabeth. He should be getting back to his family. That should be the story. Yeah, he's involved in this adventure now. None
Mm-hmm.
of the things that they have written for him indicates that they wanted him to be a long-term character that's staying in Fort Charles
Mm-hmm.
and being back in the mix.
Yep.
And so this whole thing, and that's what I was when, you usually give talking points or whatever. I was going to talk about this in the beginning. Not performance of the week. Now we're going to talk about failure of the week. This was a failure by the writers or whoever makes the decisions on stunt casting. This was the worst, and it was disrespectful to Jonathan Jackson, who could bring
And to
so much
me.
to the table, and to Tracy. That's even worse. How dare you? How dare you? But I'm like, Jonathan Jackson could do so much more with his time. I don't know what they sold him or what they told him to get him back on the show because he didn't need it.
No.
But somehow, they messed it up and they messed it up
Mm-hmm.
big time. And it's gonna take a whole bunch to bring him back. I wouldn't come back if I was him.
No. Maybe if Becky ever wanted to leave the show, maybe he would come and usher
Yeah.
her off. I mean, so I have a lot to say about this because, like, obviously, like, I love Lucky. I love Jonathan's version of
Yes.
Lucky, right? Like,
Mhm.
and I compare this to Days because Days is the other show that I've watched and I'm watching again. Something that Days does, I think, very well is like short term returns and keeping people on, like, keeping people relevant on screen, even if they're not there. It
Right.
was not necessary to turn Lucky into a deadbeat. That wasn't a necessary plot point. You
Right.
could have. We don't even see Aiden enough to have to like understand why Aiden's father is not there. To be quite honest, part of the bigger reason they deadbeated Lucky was to make Franco and Elizabeth work. I mean, he was
Hmm.
already kind of a deadbeat anyway, right? Then he bought Jake back
Hmm.
and all that. But we could have very easily had Aiden talk about going to visit his dad. These kids, this is not like little redhead Michael back in the day where we had kids on the screen all the time.
Right.
It is very easy to say that those kids are doing something else.
Hmm.
It's very easy to say, oh, he went to Ireland to visit his dad. Jake went with him. Whatever it is, like these things could have happened. There was no reason to deadbeat Lucky in that way. So then he comes back, and I understand. I'm not a Liz fan, so this wasn't my problem. But I could understand why a Liz fan would be like, I don't want this dude with my girl. What has he done? The writing has been atrocious, and it's
Hmm.
it's tough because you kind of have to go with what the writing is telling you. We have not seen him even this in this return. It was a flop from the beginning. So basically, he ushered in Sidwell, Isaiah, and kind of Lulu. And for what? If this was going to be a short term return, it should have been written to like maximize his time on screen, to maximize the story that's being told, to give him an actual arc of a story to be told about for him. You don't bring back somebody who is beloved as Lucky and JJ's Lucky for this. And I saw like a lot of narrative about like, oh, people were doing like this short term casting because they needed money. I don't know Jonathan's like financial situation, but I also do know that he tours.
Hmm.
I don't think that he needed a lot of money. Like, I mean, I don't know. He could have. Money's always nice. But I don't think that it was like he was like in some sort of desperate financial straits and came back to GH for that. He could have done other things for that. Jonathan Jackson could be doing cameos and making as much money doing that as like coming back to GH. Like
I think
that
that
wasn't
money I think that money thing is just like some wild, guessing or just evil Twitter rearing its ugly head. For
mm-hmm.
me, Jonathan Jackson has left and come back on the show and gotten Emmys.
Right.
That's the insult thing. I'm like really expecting that what he's gonna do is gonna bring another Emmy for him just
Right.
because he's that good. but the writing was just so horrible. He probably looked at this and was like,
I'm
I
out of
gotta get out
here.
now.
Why is he spending the last time he
Right.
was here? He wanted to do LNL too when they did like gave him Shaban or whatever. Like
Yeah.
that wasn't. He's always wanted to do LNL too. Liz is even, or Becky is even like said that that's like one of like Liz's like signature relationships. What was this? It was unnecessary. He didn't bring much there. We could have literally had him come in and leave.
Hmm.
This is like so disrespectful to the legacy of LNL2. And I don't care what anybody says, like people love LNL2. If you go back, because I am a person who loves to look at the analytics for the show, if you go
Right.
back to the analytics, not Twitter, that is what it is, but
Hmm.
Instagram and Facebook, if you go to the official show page, anytime they had scenes with Jonathan and Becky, anytime, those
Hmm.
were the ones who did like phenomenal numbers because people get excited for these characters, and all the show does is squander them. It's just like with Jason's return, that's kind of been a bust. I mean, I get it, and Jason's
Hmm.
there, but like the story was a bust. But when he
Hmm.
first came back, people were excited. People were like,
Hmm.
yes, like this, like very like like excited fan base for that. So they write these stories and they write people into corners, and then when people leave, then what?
Hmm.
And so I don't what does Liz do now? Because we obviously have Rick like lusting after her. I don't know. I mean, again, I'm not a Liz fan. I cannot I mean, I think it's weird as a Liz fan why you would want her with Rick. Like I hear all the time about about JJ's lucky. Oh, he yelled at her when he found out she cheated on him with his brother. But we're not
Why you
talking
hear it like
about like I mean like this is
that?
why. But we're not talking about how like Rick drugged her with birth control pills. Like, what are we talking about?
I had a
you
woman
know,
hostage in his house, in their house.
chained to a pregnant woman, chained to
What?
a wall.
I was gonna steal the baby.
Like, what? Like, okay. So and on the flip side of that, the other like kind of return that we hear is Kelly T-Ball is coming back as Britt.
Hmm.
Okay, let me not be rude. I don't want to be rude, but I have to say this. The first thought, and I saw it was Ron Kelly. This is not, and part of it is that she wanted to leave the show.
Right.
She wanted to be killed off. She was given a hero's exit. She was given her picture on the hospital wall. She was given all of that to now be coming back when I don't know if maybe this is like because I know Steve Burton liked working with her and he liked Jabrit. I don't know if this is like something to make him happy because they can't afford to lose Steve because they just lost JJ. I've never been a Brit fan. No disrespect to Kelly at all. I don't know anything, no disrespect to her at all.
Yeah.
I've just never been a Brit fan. And we saw her die. Like, what? I don't know if they're bringing her back as Brit. I don't know if she still has Huntington's. Like, I don't know any of this. But to me, there are other people on screen who I would rather you give story to than Brit. I would rather see Maxie in a really good story. I'd rather you tell me it was Alicia Montague who died and bring back Kelly Monaco and tell me a Sam story. Like, I would rather have Portia get a decent story. I'd rather have Trina get a decent story. I'd rather have Jordan get a decent story. Like, there are people who are on screen who you can write for in a decent way that you're not before you bring back somebody who I'm not really interested in seeing. And I know people are excited for her. I'm not trying to speak for the fan base of the fandom. Tracy, am not excited for this.
Um, I liked Britt as a character. I like Kelly as an actress, but my first thought was Portia because they've written Portia into a corner. And she's gonna, if it all comes out, she's gonna lose her job.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. And if Britt is coming back, that means Britt might have a possibility of coming back and being the chief of staff again. or Kosi
Mm-hmm.
or whatever. That's what I was just thinking. Oh man,
Mm-hmm.
Portia's out, and so I was sad about that.
Right.
Not sad for Portia as a character because but I'm sad for Brooker.
Yeah.
Um, but we don't know what's gonna happen. So we'll just have to wait and see. But I had a similar rant. There's a lot of stunt casting that's happening with GH when really all they need to do is really focus on writing good story for the cast, the phenomenal cast that they have.
Yes.
And so it's really crazy to me. That's why it's such a huge fail
Yep.
on their part. And they need to do better. Instead of, we're bringing so and so back and then have them do nothing or have them destroy the dynamic that we have on the show. Why? You know, all the
Yep.
money they could have been saving by keeping Kelly Monaco on and having her just have really phenomenal writing.
Yep. As much as I love Jonathan Jackson and I love JJ's Lucky, if you listen to the show, you know how I feel. Even if you want, you could have had him come back short term. You could have
Right.
had him have some really beautiful scenes with Liz. You could have had him have some really beautiful scenes with his son. And then you could have had him say, I'm committed to remaining in your life because we don't see
But I'm
Aiden all the
out.
time anyway. And then be
Right.
out
And just be out.
and just
You
be
know,
out. There was no
I
reason for
honestly
this.
expected that could have happened after he was not Louis' donor.
But when they brought him back, they said this was not going to be a short term return.
Right. That's the problem. If they weren't going to write this, they weren't going to write a good story for him. They should have made it been like, actually, we're wrong. It's actually going to be short term. And like less than a year, I think it is a less than a year or a year is
Mm-hmm.
not long term in terms of soaps.
9 months.
9 months. When you have a year, like 68 year or 60-year running show, one
Mm-hmm.
year, less than a year is not long term. So it ended up being short term in the first place,
Exactly.
especially as
So
less frequently and he was even on. He wasn't even on that every week or every day.
I'm very disappointed.
He wasn't even part of a signature program of the show.
Nope.
He missed the nurses ball. He wasn't even watching TV with Liz to watch the nurses ball. He was not involved in the nurses ball at all.
Mm-hmm.
A major actor like that not involved in nurses ball is crazy.
Yep. Who's the singer?
Yeah, man. Why wasn't he singing?
Because even for the GH fan club weekend,
Right.
the event that's with JJ, and I knew something was up, and I was like trying not to like read too much into it, but so I was like looking at the events for the fan club to see because you have to pay for everything, and so there's like one event that's like friends or exes to friends or something that's like Becky and Rick Hurst. And I was like, okay. And then there's like one event that's like a night with Jonathan Jackson with him like singing or whatever. I'm like, okay, if they were really doing LNL 2, then like we should have seen Becky and JJ doing something together. So I already was kind of like, I was trying not to read too much into it because I was like, certainly you couldn't be this disappointing. But it was my fault for not expecting to be disappointed, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Well, here we go. Want to hear what happens next week?
Sure.
All right.
And
Oh, go ahead, please.
they're saying that there's still more bombs to drop in this courtroom battle, so we should see.
Mhm. Okay, Monday. Lucky says goodbye to Lulu.
Oh, can I say one more thing?
Yeah, of
Lucky
course.
is saying goodbye to Lulu. What about his mama? Okay, go ahead.
I know Jeannie mad because you know Jeannie loves JJ.
And she was excited. She was looking forward to it.
Well, I mean, I've said this. I've told this story many times. JJ is
Right.
like why Jeannie said she knew she could become a mom.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I'm annoyed.
Right.
Um, Drew stoops to a new low. How is that possible? Also, I haven't read these yet, so like, okay. Christina is struck by inspiration. Cody makes a proposal to Carly. Elizabeth opens up to Lucas. Tuesday, Willow holds her ground. Laura has a happy reunion. Who has been out of town for Laura?
Are
All
they
right,
bringing Charlotte back?
maybe. Because I have wondered if Charlotte is going to have something to do with how crazy Drew is. Because, Charlotte does have those tarot cards.
Tarot cards, yeah.
Yeah. Um, okay. Isaiah receives a generous offer, maybe to go with Lucky.
Right.
Um, Trina opens up to Ava. Tracy delivers words of caution.
Mm.
Wednesday, Michael's news shocks Carly, Sunny, and Jason. Okay. Trina and Kai put their heads together. Isaiah picks up on Portia's distress. Okay. Nina is on the warpath. Felicia accepts a new mission. Thursday, shockwaves rip through the courtroom at Michael and Willow's hearing. Elizabeth tends to a patient. Rick makes an admission. Ava issues an invitation. Alexis swallows her panic. Friday the 13th. Tracy challenges Alexis. Maxie tries to play peacemaker. The tension between Chase and Dante grows. Oh, God. Anna reflects on her path or her past. Marco is taken aback.
Mm.
Okay. I'm interested to see what happens. Another week, you got me. All right. Thank y'all for sticking with us. It's a longer show. We had lots to talk about, but I enjoyed talking about it with y'all. Make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe. Tell a friend about GH. Buy us a coffee if you so choose. And we will see you next week. So.
All right.